Hiya, I'm
Hi.
Lou,
I'm John.
and this is a series of videos that we do on a regular basis called Heart to Heart. If you're new to the website, then welcome. We welcome all new members. It will become ravingly obvious in about the next 5 minutes that this is done unscripted, deliberately. We just turn up as us because that's kind of what the site is all about, people helping people. So the good thing is spontaneous and unscripted and real. The bad thing is you get more ums and ahs and, you know.
The good thing is it's spontaneous. The bad thing is it's spontaneous.
Yes.
We do have a general chat about what we're going to say, but that's about as far as it goes. And then we launch in and we find out what we're actually going to say. So here we are.
Yes.
It's an odd time. The word unprecedented has been used in an unprecedented number of times during this period where there's lockdown all over the world. And it's a really odd time.
It is. We're in the UK, if you don't know that. We've just been through the slightly perilous time of having our own Prime Minister go into intensive care, which is obviously very shocking for the country. In fact, a lot of our government has had the COVID-19 and the Prince of Wales. So we kind of feel that this is no respect to a person's rank, rich, poor. It's, so in a funny sort of way, I think the fact that the Prince of Wales and, the government are kind of, I feel like we're all in this together.
Yeah, particularly with the Prime Minister, because you don't really expect that, and the fact that he's been in intensive care and fortunately come out yesterday is really brings it home. It's a salutary lesson for anybody who thinks, oh, I'm okay, I'm sort of immune to this. And it just shows us that none of us are. In case you're trying to wonder, well, when did the Prime Minister... This is Good Friday, by the way. That's what today is.
It is, So we know that you, like us, are going through so many difficult things, and we're at the point now, I think, where we can see the good that's coming out of this. The whole thing about, I suppose, Good Friday, the Christian message is that God gave his son, who died because of all the pain that was going on in the world, and there's obvious parallels with that, isn't there? With
there's so many medics have died, and they're still going out there and sacrificing themselves for us.
And those are the big gestures to the little gestures that we've been really touched with our neighbours, because we're self-isolating. We've got a few respiratory things going on. People we've not met before coming up offering, and that's been really touching, hasn't it?
Yeah, and in the UK, every Thursday night we're going out and sort of clapping and banging pots and things, and generally cheering in appreciation of the NHS, of the postman, or
supermarkets,
all the different people who are keeping going through this, and we've ended up speaking to people that we've lived beside for years and have never spoken to, which is lovely. It's an interesting time.
It is.
An interesting time.
So I hope you are in the challenges also seeing some good. Now, John from time to time has come in and offered help and then comes out if he's busy, but you're launching that again. Do you want to tell us a bit about that? Yeah,
I mentioned it in an email which you may or may not have seen, and what I'm doing is I'm launching the fact I'm doing one-to-ones. If you're looking for guidance, if you're looking for a coach through getting sober, or you're looking for a coach through, your partner is drinking and how to strategize, sort of how to approach it, then I'm here. I've been doing this for a number of years, and recently I've had a couple of people wanting to talk to me, and so I feel that maybe this is a good time to do it again. I usually charge £50 for this, but I'm offering an initiative. I'm launching an initiative where I offer it for half price. Now, I'm actually going to offer it for two different prices. One is I'm going to offer it for £50. The other one is I'm going to offer it for £25. Now, you might be saying, well, this is a no-brainer, but what I'm suggesting is that if you can pay for it and can afford the £50, then please pay the £50. If you can't afford that, then pay the 25. It's, either way, it doesn't matter to me, but it might matter to you, which you do. You get exactly the same attention regardless of which one you pay.
Yeah, absolutely. And, obviously there's loads of things. There's a full program if you've just arrived at the site. There's lots of videos. We've been extremely touched by posts on the forum.
Absolutely.
If you could see how touched and proud we are when people kind of post. And there's one in particular just saying how thrilled they were to find the site. We're really thrilled to have you.
We're thrilled that they're thrilled that they found us out.
We absolutely are. We just want to say we are here. We give it free because you matter to us. Your walk matters to us. And I was so alone. I used to go to the end of my garden and howl at the moon, talk to God. He was very helpful at that point, I have to say. But I felt in my human self really alone, and I never, ever want anyone to have to go through that again. Can I just talk about our ethos? The reason we're letting you choose is there's so much mistrust, cynicism and everything that builds up around drinking, that with the donating as well as deciding how much you can pay, we choose to honour and respect and trust you. And we know a few people will take advantage of that, but generally I think if you honour and respect and trust people, what you get is the decent side of them. And we trust you to donate and do the chain of care, and we believe that people just, if you do look for the good comes out.
I think if you look around in this time, you see the good.
You do.
You see, okay, there's some really depressing news, the number of deaths, etc. We're all in lockdown, which is really odd, but society has really sort of, it's really come up trumps here. You see it started off, sort of surprising or little sort of, what was it? I can't remember the phrase that they used, but it was good things that were happening, and they were sort of odd. They weren't common to begin with.
Well, it used to be random acts of kindness.
That's the phrase I was looking for. As you can see, we're really scripted in this, These random acts of kindness, and now they're commonplace.
Yeah, that's true.
And that's not to diminish any single act of kindness at all. That's actually to honour every single act of kindness, and it's just been amazing. It's absolutely amazing. People have come up trumps because they're taking responsibilities.
I mean, it started off with a lot of selfishness, actually. Everybody panic buying and everything.
The toilet rolls or the lack of them.
And then people in society just began to say, really? And began to question the behaviour. And I think generally everybody's calmed down now and realised that, we're going to get through this if we look out for each other.
But the selfishness tends to be a small minority.
And a lot of it's out of fear.
A lot of it's out of fear, but it's a minority. The majority of us are looking out for each other. And if there was ever an example of the chain of care, look all round about you at this moment in time. It's the sort of thing that we're trying to the ethos that we are trying to establish here. Just look around you, look at how people are looking after their neighbours, look at how they're sort of going out shopping for them, look at, leaving things on their doorstep. Our daughter, she's got fibromyalgia,
Bad asthma.
Yeah, and she can't get out of the house. And so she is actually in self-isolation. Somebody went shopping for her, delivered it to her. Never charged her.
Bought double what she wanted.
And never charged her anything. It's a gift. And she'd met the person once because they had dropped something off to the house. So, that was random. But it was certainly an act of kindness, and it was wonderful. We found that really, really touching. Really touching.
Yeah. So when this lockdown started, I think me and John, we thought, our community going to need us more than ever. Awful shutdown, locked in with your drinker. But what, on some occasions, which has surprised us a little bit, is that people have been feeding back that actually, instead of it being more of a meltdown, something's happened. Maybe it's just that, maybe your partner has just thought, we're in this, we better try and find some ways of doing this. But for some people, something new has begun to happen, hasn't it?
I think, again, if you look at what's happening in the world in general, This is a microcosm of that. And people are starting to look and say, well, you know, we can't go out, we can't do this, we need to do without this, we need, you know, what is actually important? And what it seems to come down to is what's important is people. People. It's relationships. It's your family. It's your friends. It's your partner. It's your wife. It's your husband. It's your kids. You know, this is what's important. And I think when you look at what's happening in drinking households as well, it is very much the same thing. What's important here, you know, because there's not an awful lot to do during lockdown, and you know there's only so much Netflix you can actually watch, you know, and after that becomes a wee bit boring. So people start to talk, and that's fantastic. It is absolutely wonderful. They start to talk.
Can we say here though, stay safe? I mean, something that is very noticeable at the moment in the UK, that if you're in an abusive, violent relationship, these people are very vulnerable. And I don't know what's happening in your part of the world, but certainly in the UK now, there's been double the phone lines that people have recognised that a certain sort of people don't need to be locked down, they need to flee. You know, make sure that you, I don't think there's a government in the world, well, there may be, but that, you know, not governments we respect and honour.
Not in the West.
Yeah, that would say, you know, whatever happens, you must be locked down with your abusive, you know, person. So that isn't what lockdown means. So if you're one of those people, get on the phone to your doctor, get on the phone to somebody and say what is happening, because nobody wants you to be locked down in a very unsafe thing.
So although there are some people who, you know, this has actually prompted them to actually start talking about it. It's not everybody. No. It's not everybody by any manner of means. But one of the things I do suggest is that if you want to read some of these stories, go into the forum. We're actually seeing a wee bit more interaction in the forum now, you know, and we're really pleased to see that.
Yeah, we love that.
And, you know, that even though you're in lockdown doesn't mean to say you're out of touch. That's one of the great things about the internet is you actually you've got 24-hour access, you know, 7 days a week. So come and talk to us on the forum, you know, you can come and talk to the other people on the forum, you know, and that's the lovely thing is that you understand what the other people are going through. And they understand what you're going through. You know, you don't have to explain yourself. You don't have to excuse yourself. You don't have to apologise. People know what you're going through. And because they know what you're going through, they understand.
And there's two things you can give. You can give help that's really been helpful to you. But also you can just give fellow feeling. I tell you, when I was going through a really, really deep depression, it wasn't a time, because this was really when I was kind of early 20s, that people talked much about it. And I found one book with somebody that had been through depression, had written their story and come out the other end. And I literally carried that book around me every single place I went, because the knowledge that somebody knew what I was going through was really important. So even if you can't think of anything to say that will be helpful, just let people know when they reach out that again, their pain matters to you, because you understand exactly what it's like, and that is so important.
It is. If I could just quote, probably not verbatim, what somebody actually said on the forum was, it was so wonderful to come here because I felt as if I was being heard for the first time. You know, and that is actually how a lot of people feel. They're being heard for the first time.
Can I just say that the stats coming out of the UK is, they've just done a survey about people that are locked down, that alcohol drinking has really increased, that people are using alcohol to get through. If there's a lot of kind of community forums, we've got one for our town, for example, feel free to put our name and put out the information about us out there. We are global. And I think people need to know that there's online help, you know, if they're struggling with alcohol or their partner with alcoholic. So please spread it around. I think people are connected in terms of info and help in a way that's quite unprecedented as well. And please let people know that we exist, because they may well need us. Yeah,
we found out more about our town since we were locked down than before, you know, because there's all these people posting, you can do this, you can do that, you can do the next thing, this is available, that's something, you think, I had no idea.
What I am learning, and this is really, really interesting, is that actually things that I really thought were important I can do without. We're self-isolating, so other people have had to do our shopping for us. And people shopping, your list through the lens of other people has been a really interesting thing to watch.
There's also the guilty pleasures, the things that you go,
oh yes, do I dare say that I want this, But first week I was really disappointed because I didn't get what I wanted. Second week I adjusted to that. Third week I'm just really grateful that anything comes in the house, and I just think, don't worry, I'll work with that. So you're just kind of learning that when stuff strips away, that you actually is quite freeing in a funny sort of way.
It is, I feel as if we're in an episode of Ready, Steady, Cook. All these things come in and go, right.
That's a program in the UK where you have about 5 or 6 random ingredients, and then some
and then you make a meal out of it, so it feels a wee bit like that.
Now I want to give a challenge to people if they want to take it. It might be good to actually do it with your drinker if they're up for it. For both drinkers and for families of drinkers, my challenge is to come out of this period understanding what's going on in each one of you in a way that you haven't before. Okay? So giving each other a chance to really say what it's like to be you in the middle of this situation, or even in the middle of your marriage, or your partnership or whatever. Tips to avoid. All right, some people, they don't listen, they wait to speak. We have one particular friend who would say he falls into this category. You kind of know that they're not really listening to you. They're waiting for you to finish your bit so that they can say...
So they can jump in.
Yeah. And you really do pick that up in people. You kind of know if people are hearing. So first of all, if you're going to listen to each other, don't wait to speak. All right, first tip. All right, actually listen. One of the good ways of doing that is actually to stop when you've heard what your partner's saying, or your children, it can be, or your, anybody really, is to say, are you saying this? And try and reflect back what you think you've heard. It's a really interesting...
it's called reflective listening.
And just to see if you can get good at that. See if you can listen to your partner and actually say back what they're saying. Second tip.
Yes, because part of the thing is that what you hear is not necessarily what they're saying.
Absolutely.
So sometimes, we do it all the time, just, for clarification, you think, are you saying... No, I'm not actually saying that. It's actually, and it's not just because we're therapists, it's just sometimes we just are a bit distracted, and what we're actually saying sometimes is kind of, as I say, is not being received very well.
Tip 2, don't wait to judge. Tip 1, don't just wait to speak. And the second one is don't wait to judge. This will not go well. And at the end of this time, you won't come back to me and say this has been really helpful if you're just waiting to tell your partner how difficult and how much you're angry with them. This isn't a time to judge. This is a time actually to understand. And if you really listen well, I think if you've got the reason I stayed with my drinker was because I knew him well enough, and because he was a binge drinker, because we had enough good conversations for me to figure out is at the bottom of his heart he hated what he was doing, and he hated himself. And knowing that, how broken he was inside, I still had to put down boundaries, I still had to make sure certain things didn't happen, but it always helped me to have compassion, because I really got what was going on, and I recognised that, he was very broken. And
we're not asking you to accept or condone.
No, absolutely
we're just asking
not.
you to understand.
And that is the compassion bringer.
For the people in the partners part of it, there are tools for this. There's love, there's share. It's built into the program. There's workbooks there. To have a look at them. It tells you how to do this. It tells you how to talk to the drinker. And for the drinkers, well, a lot of the time, I know when I was drinking and my wife wanted to share what she wanted to say, it was generally in anger, and I can't blame her in the slightest. And what I was totally on the defensive, you know. And I was looking for slight anywhere. In fact, I was actually looking for an excuse quite often to go for a drink anyway. You know, so I wasn't really listening to what she had to say, you know. And very often what she had to say was not about me, it was about my behaviour. And these are two different things, you know. It's how I was behaving rather than me as a person. You know, she loved me as a person. She did not like the behaviour.
This is a very important caveat. I think this must be done with both of you making an agreement that you will not use that information back when you're angry with each other. Now, we know that your drinker might, but I think if you go into this with the understanding that if he uses it when he's drinking or she ever uses some of this stuff, that you will walk straight out. You will just leave that conversation, leave that room, kind of with the understanding, because there is always a risk with being real, and there's a risk with being real when someone gets drunk.
Absolutely,
But our general advice throughout this site is don't hang around if he's drinking. You know, even if you have to go to the other side of the room, put the earphones on and listen to a podcast or read a book. You know, the worst thing you can do is turn up and look at what's happening when your partner's drinking. That's one of the strategies we say, you know, get out of the room if you can.
Do not do this if somebody's drinking.
No, absolutely.
Do not do it if they're drinking. It's just a complete and utter waste of time. The other thing is, you know, and it's very cliched and really, you know, you see it in sort of really bad B films, but they talk about the talking stick, you know. If in terms of turn taking, you know, being able to be heard and listened to and get to the end of what you're saying, you know, sometimes it's good to have somebody, you know, an object, and whoever's holding that object is the person that's speaking, and they put it down and the other person picks it up. So you learn to turn take. Do you know what I mean? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely.
So, and it's just, after a while you don't actually need it, you know, but to begin with, to learn the discipline, it's actually quite good, because sometimes if something is said, you want to be diving straight in rather than waiting to the end of the sentence, or you know, or what's said.
So when the person's finished, they hand the stick. When you get the stick, you open your mouth. I mean, it could, if it works well, it could something you can also do with your children to kind of open up about what's going on. Now, this can be really powerful, but use your instinct there, because if your instinct is not to do it, it probably means that you know that the fruit of that might be worse rather than good, you know. But for some people, it's a really good time to do it. For others, when there's a lot of venom and resentment and there's a lot of people are kind of horrid drunks, aren't they? They're angry drunks.
Some are,
mine tended to be a sleepy drunk, unless you took him on. If you took him on, he was a very angry drunk, but generally he was quite benign.
I was on all different types of drunk.
Were you?
Yeah, it depended. It depended which John turned up. And when I was attacked, I could be a horrid drunk. I could be really nasty. I wasn't physically violent, but I had a poisoned tongue, you know, and I did pick up things that I could use at a later date, you know, and you see there's a video in the blog of me saying, you know, I am sorry, I apologise, and I apologise for all my behaviour, and I don't stint in saying this is what I was like, you know. But others are benign. But as was said before, don't do this if your drinker has been drinking. Pointless.
Absolutely.
Pointless.
Yeah. So if you want to try that, you know, I think to have come out of this really knowing what's going on in your drinker, and your drinker knowing what's going on in you. So it's done lovingly and kindly. It will lead to a positive place. It will do.
And if I could just say to drinkers out there, you know, I've been saying it's pointless talking to somebody when they're drinking, and it is. And I say that as an ex-drinker, you know. I didn't make good decisions when I was drinking. Why? Because alcohol actually is a psychoactive drug. What does that mean? It means that it changes the way you think. It changes the way you process information. It changes the way you feel, You know, I was quicker to anger, I was quicker to sadness, I was quicker to everything, every emotion. They were all over the place. I was emotionally volatile. And that's why I'm saying it's pointless talking to a drinker when they've been drinking, because in order to hear what your partner is saying, you actually have to be sober to process the information properly. This is not a slight against you as a person, it's a slight against being drunk during the conversation. That's all I'm saying, you know.
And if you are,
in fact, it's not a slight, it's a warning.
Yeah.
You know.
And if you are one of these sadly unlucky people for whom the drinking is going up, then maybe have less conversation with your drinker, but actually have more conversation with the people around you, with the forum, with people you know that are safe. Just let their help and support come through them. This is a good time to do the programme well. Actually, if you're locked down, particularly if you're not working from home, you can actually really listen to the stuff and really get your head around it, kind of participate on the forum. So this could be a time when you could really invest in some really good work on your situation.
This is an opportunity, and most change happens during crisis. It doesn't happen when everything's fine, because when everything's fine, you get complacent, you think, that's all right, carry on. This is a crisis. It's a crisis for the world. And I think at the end of this, a lot of things are going to change. Are you going to be one of them?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's a very good place to finish, I think.
It is.
We will do this every week. We're working on something else which we'll tell you about too when we're ready to kind of roll that out.
Yeah.
And we send very much love on this Good Friday.
Yeah.
Let's, in our own little way, think about what we can do to make other people's lives better.
Yeah.
And we will be in touch soon. And keep in touch, keep on the forum.
Yeah.
We're here, we care about you. Remember to care for each other, and we'll talk to you again soon.
And I'll send out an email with information about one-to-one, and I'll do that very soon. Yeah. Okay.
One other little thing. We are aware that this will fit in better time zones than others.
Yeah.
So if you're in Australia or New Zealand,
this is the one-to-one she's talking about.
Yeah, you can't stay up all night doing lots and lots of them. But if you really want one, then maybe do a little bit of flexibility. So contact him personally about that.
The one-to-one thing will be in your own time zone. When you look at it, it detects where you are and it shows you the times I'm available in your own time.
Yeah.
However, Australia, New Zealand, that might be a wee bit difficult.
Yes.
But if you contact me, we can maybe flex.
Yeah, I was just thinking, be aware of that actually, because you might think it's an insult if you get something saying John will be available from 12 a.m. to 5 a.m.
Yeah.
That's because the machine is changing the time zones, not because he's being
I'll explain that in the email I sent.
Yeah, good idea. Yeah. Okay then, so we'll say goodbye now.
Okay.
Much love and blessings
Yeah.
be upon you.
And stay safe.
Yes. Bye-bye.
Okay. Bye.